Good morning, sunshine. Welcome to Morning Inspiration with Friends with our host, Miss Inspiration. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe as you sit back and listen.
Good morning. Good morning. It is your girl, Miss Inspiration, Tanisha Shanae. Tanisha Shanae, Miss Inspiration. We're here for another episode of Morning Inspiration with Friends. As always, we're always here Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. You can check out the channel. We've been doing this for the last year. I'm so excited. Morning Inspiration with Friends was birthed a little over a year ago. So it feels good to see that and to just know, like, people are out here watching and they're engaging. And I appreciate you, especially to those that are my usual followers. Good morning. Good morning. So I want to challenge how we think for a second, right? I'm seeing all these posts and I'll talk about this. Like, what if it actually works? What if it actually works? So someone had posted yesterday on Threads and it was like, why is it that someone could post something good, right? Something positive. And then you got 50 people with something negative. And I think about when I moved out here. Everyone knows when I moved to Oklahoma that I got nothing but negativity. Oh, you're gonna hate it. You're gonna run back to New York. It's nothing but racism. And I'm just like, but what if it actually does work out? And I remember telling so many people that. Right? Because the first thing that we have to stop doing is defaulting to the negative outcomes. And it's not even negative outcomes, negative potential outcomes. Like, it didn't even happen. Most of the time, the things that people are saying are a bunch of what ifs. Like, what if you experience racism? What if you hate it? What if? You haven't even done it. Like, most times we're still in the planning stage, we're still in the thinking stage. We're not in the stage of action. So if we continue to default to the negative outcomes, you're never going to take action. You're always going to stay in that what if mindset. And I want you to understand that the only way you're going to know something works is if you actually go and do it. Like, I would have never known if I loved Tulsa until I actually moved to Tulsa. I would have never confirmed that I hated New York City as much as I did until I actually left. And I was just telling someone the other day, and I talk about it all the time. I was like, yo, I hate going back home. Like, I pray this prayer that God increases my income so much that I can fly my family to whichever city we want to explore and I can pay for it and no one is worried about it, right? Because honestly, going back to New York is at least $500 round trip, okay? So that's not a cheap, $150, $200 flight. That's a lot of money to go back. And I'm like, for all of that to go somewhere that I truly don't want to be, no, I'm going to rather, let's go to Chicago. That's what we did last August. I paid for my family. We went to Chicago. We hung out. The year before that, it was the first time I took my mom to Chicago because she's never been. But I was just like, guys, if you don't know, then I can have these conversations because I know for a fact what it is I don't want. The second thing is that you don't need certainty to get started. And I think that's what so many people are doing. You're waiting for like a certainty. You're waiting for confirmation. Again, the certainty is not going to come until the action. So if you're sitting here wondering, but what if this doesn't work out? Whether that's a job, it's a business, a relationship, it's a move, whatever that is, the certainty is not going to happen until you actually get started. So if you're sitting here listening to all the naysayers, if you're sitting here creating all of the what ifs and all of the doubt, then guess what? You're never going to be started because you're never going to start. And what I want you to start doing is taking action. Because I want you to go there and try it. And guess what? Even if it doesn't work out, you at least learned something. You walked away with some type of data. You have data. Y'all know me, I'm an educator, right? If we could sit here and have opinions all day, but sometimes you need concrete data. And your data is going to come in the action. So even if you get to the other side and you're like, yo, T, this didn't work out, then that's cool. Let's examine what didn't happen. What examine what went wrong, right? Maybe it was the wrong environment. Maybe it was the wrong timing. There's a lot of different factors. So we can't just say it just didn't work out. Oh, see, that's what happens when I do. That's what happens when you try things and it didn't work out. And now you know how to move forward. And I always say that, right? When I started UGC earlier this year, that was something that I had no certainty if it was going to actually work. Good morning, Paula. Happy Wednesday. We're here, Paula. When I started UGC, I didn't know if it was going to work. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get brand deals. I didn't know if somebody's going to pay me, whether it was $5, $10, $20 to do a video or a photo. I didn't know any of these things. But then I started. And then I continue to start, and I continue to tap in, and I continue to get offers. And now I can sit and say, now, like I had a company reach out to me last night, wanting me to do a video. They want me to do a video with 2 people, and I had to purchase the product, and they wanted to give me $10. And I was like, sir, ma'am, I don't even know who you are, what you are, but absolutely not. But the young, naive Tanisha, because when I first started, I didn't know these things. But I had to get started, and I had to start engaging and understanding and learning, so that now when a brand or a company comes to me and they're like, we got $10 for you to do a video, would you do it? I'm saying absolutely not. We're not doing that. The certainty is not going to happen until you actually get started. The last thing I want to give is that trying is going to give you data no matter what. Trying is going to give you data. You're going to, like I said, this is about the action. Action. Everybody write that in the chat, action. Because you don't know what's going to work until you take action. And like I said, nothing is going to work until you can sit here and go back and examine that. And then I want you to also, and this is dropped in my spirit because it made me think about 2014, 2015. I did an ad on Facebook for one of my programs. Y'all know I'm a life coach and stuff. So I had a program, I did an ad, and I had like targeted the Caribbean islands, all of the United States, and I think the UK and Canada. So it was those 4. And literally when the ad was over and I went and I looked at the data, it really did not touch anyone in the US, right? No one in the US had like really touched it. And then one person signed up and she was from Jamaica. And I remember speaking to one of my closest friends, and I was like, nobody, like no one's signing up. And she was like, and so I sent her the data, all right? I sent her the data. And she's like, okay, Tanisha, you're focusing on the people here in the United States. And we all understand, right, that sometimes your home is not going to support you. In this case, my home was the entire United States. She said, but look at the fact that there are people in Canada who are looking at your stuff, they're tapping into your stuff. She was like, you got one new client from Jamaica. She was like, let's focus on that part. She said, because if we focus on what didn't work, you're going to stop. You're not going to continue to move forward. So when we looked at the data, we looked at the fact that, okay, this is what's working. And then when we looked at it from the United States standpoint and even the UK, we were able to realize that demographics, like I think I just did general. I didn't like specify which different age groups, none of that. I just really just very generic. So she was like, so it's not that, what you're doing is not working. It's that when you created the ads, you didn't really specify anything. And this is what ends up happening. So sometimes when you do a very general, you grab as many people, but then sometimes when you don't get as many people. So you have to play around and learn that part. And when we finished that conversation, I walked away, one, feeling empowered to go out there and to do the best that I could with the client that I have now obtained. But now it made me refocus. And I said, you know what? This might not be my strong suit, but let me go find someone. And I was able to find someone who was able to now do my Facebook ads, who fully understood exactly what my friend had said. And so it gave me even more empowerment to say, yo, we can go out here and now rerun this ad, do it the right way. And once I did that, I started to see people locally in the United States, not just in the other parts of the world. And trust me, once I realized, no shade to our people, but sometimes I would rather work with the people in other countries. Like sometimes people just y'all be acting up sometimes, okay? But I just want us to think about that, right? If you're sitting here contemplating something brand new and you're sitting here thinking of every time you think of this thing and you think about 10 negative things, you got to work hard to shift that thinking. We have to work hard to shift that thinking. I read somewhere, this was a long time ago, so I can't remember the actual stat, but I think they said for every positive thought, we can easily have 40 negative ones. For every one positive, 40 negative. And I can believe that because so often the first thing that people do is they go towards negativity. And I always say when we focus on the negative, we do block our blessings. When we focus on everything that can go wrong, we're never going to see that moment of opportunity because we're focusing on everything that could go wrong. It hasn't even gone wrong yet, but it could, right? People get stuck in that. But Tanisha, but it could go wrong. When I drove here, my mom is my first coaching client. I always tell her that. My mom, when I was driving to Oklahoma from New York, she was like, well, what if you drive through a sundown town? And I was like, okay. And what if the tire blows? Okay. So I'm like, but there are solutions, right? I was able to map out where the sundown towns were. Smartest thing I probably did. And then the good part was the way that I was going, I didn't come across any. And I always say, now I learned after going to Myrtle Beach one time, stay on the main road. Even if there's traffic, don't let that GPS take you off into the other, because that's how you end up in the sundown towns. And we don't want to be there. I was like, I have my AAA, I had my emergency kits. Like I was trying to be as proactive as possible so that I didn't sit in the, what if this goes wrong? What if this goes wrong? What if this happens? What if this? What if this? What if this? And you sit and you get lost in that. And guess what? I probably would have still been sitting in Brooklyn with a whole house paid for in Tulsa. We can't sit in that. We can't sit in that. We got to move forward. We got to take action. You have to take action. And if you want change, you have to take action. You can't sit around and think that for once, oh my gosh, this is just going to be the same way and the same thing in my life. It's not. It's absolutely not. So I think I've given you enough. If at the end of the day, the only thing you get is you got to take action. Get out the what ifs. Get away from the negative people. Fight those negative thoughts. Fight them. You have so much control. Fight it. Don't let that drag you. Don't let that take you down. Fight it. All right. So I'm going to end here. You guys have an amazing day on purpose, with purpose. I'm back here on Friday, 7. I know how I do 7-ish. Just put your notifications on so you'll be notified when I go live. But I'll see you back here on Friday. Have a good one. Be well and be blessed.
Wow. Tanisha, that was a powerful message. I hope everyone was blessed by today's message. Listen, if you are not tuned in, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Meet us for Morning Inspiration with Friends every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m.-ish CT time. See you next time, friend.